Okay, ladies, hello, good morning. So, just been thinking a little bit about our years together and all the things that we've learned, and I guess some of the things that I see that a lot of us struggle with. And one of them, I think, is the use of water, where I think sometimes we get afraid to use too much water because it's going to get out of control, or whatever the case. So sometimes when we do things like graded skies or wet on wet, we really need to use a lot of water. Like that's when we really, really need to utilize that. So I think we're going to practice that a little bit today. I'm going to do it on two different papers also. I'm going to do it on the paper that we use normally, and then I'm going to do it on my Arches paper that I had bought. So this is the 140-pound Arches on the block, which is a higher quality paper than what we use daily. Again, there's nothing wrong with our paper, but this paper just behaves differently. So it'll be sort of a way to see the difference between the two and the outcome. And then that way you can maybe decide if you want to try to use a higher grade paper at some point in time or whatever. It's up to you. But we're just going to give it a try. So we're going to do a graded sky, and maybe poke some clouds into it. I'll see how it goes. I see how it is quite dry in here at the moment, and the breeze is blowing in the window. So that is working against us, but it's just too nice to have the window closed. So we're going to work on it. We're going to see how we get, and then this will be sort of a background for the finished piece, which will be some sort of a silhouette in the front of it. But the idea is really, really more about working on the background and working wet and wet and learning to maybe work a little bit more quickly. So when you're planning a wet on wet, rather than taking your time or mixing your colors after you've gotten your paint, just basically having everything ready to go and not working like a speed demon, but working quickly so that the paper doesn't completely dry out before we get to the end of what we're trying to do. So let's see how this works. The colors that I'm using today are Permanent Rose. I just got a new gamboge, which I thought looked really dark in the tube, and when I squirted it out into the palette, it looked really dark too. However, when I added water to it, a lot of water, this is what it turned out to be. So the tube was a little deceiving. Once I watered it down, I got a nice, beautiful color that I was expecting to get. So that was kind of funny. These are my color swatches. So this is the rose. This is rose mixed with new gamboge, which is where the two are going to meet. And then that's the new gamboge. And this was just me messing around with dropping purple into it where it got a little bit, muddy. So disregard that. This is the colors that we're looking for. So let's give it a whirl. We're going to start with a nice even coat of clean water with our wash brush. And the other part of this experiment is that this paper that we use every day tends to dry out a lot quicker than the Arches paper. And I have a feeling it has to do with the quality of the paper, what it's made out of. The Arch is 100% cotton. I have actually no idea what this is made out of because it doesn't say on the label that I can see. So it's just an experiment to see how the two different kinds of paper take this treatment, and we'll see how it goes. So I have a nice coat of water. I don't really want to move my paper too much because I don't want to take it out of the center of the camera, but trust me when I say that it is nice and wet. I can see a nice shine on there. I'm probably going to give it a little minute to dry a little bit. I'm going to drop my color in. This is my 12 long round. So in order to keep the flow going, I'm going to use this brush, the bigger brush, to do the colors. I'm starting with the rose color. And I'm adding some water to it, and I'm going to just start putting that at the top of the paper and just really kind of blending that down. So the other thing about this paper that we use all the time is it starts to bow, which we've all seen. So the other paper, when we do it on the arches on the block, we'll see how that differs. We'll see how that looks different. So I'm going to go down about 2/3 of the way. And I am going straight across. You could sort of do a swoopy. You could kind of, you know, break it up a little bit, make it more of a swoopy sky if you want to. You don't have to go straight across. In fact, let's just do that just for the sake of whatever. So I'm going to rinse that off. I'm going to quickly go to my new gamboge. I'm going to water it down. And I'm going to start putting that at the bottom so you can see the difference between what it looks like in the palette and what it looks like on the paper. It's just kind of crazy. And I'm going to bring that up and right into the pink. So the two together are going to make that orangey middle ground color. And see how I kind of went quickly. So I didn't want to dilly-dally. I wanted these colors to blend together while everything is still wet. And that's a good portion of what we have going on here. And you can pop a little bit of that up and a little bit down. It doesn't have to be even lines. It doesn't have to be, because now we have sort of a little bit almost like clouds, right, going on. But that's it for that wash right there. So I'm going to attempt to put, I mixed a little bit of purple with a little bit of rose to make it a little bit more magenta, no, not magenta-y, a little bit more, I don't know, a little less cool and a little bit warmer. How about that? And I'm going to just try to drop a little bit. Now it's blooming out a little bit, so it's a little too wet. I should have waited, but that's all right. We're just going to keep going. The bloom is where the purple and the pink are meeting. They're sort of pushing each other away. So I should have waited a little bit. But we're just going to drop a little bit of that in as sort of like a cloudy type of a thing. And we can go from one side, we can go from the other side. Now once you hit the yellow and the purple are opposites, right? So they're going to start to react differently than the purple and the pink are going to react. So it's going to be pretty, but you don't want to blend it too much. You kind of want to just let it do its thing. And it's going to give you some of those low sunset clouds. I'm just grabbing a little more purple because I ran out. So I'm going to add a little bit more darker up here too, because it washed out a little bit. And then if this gets too wet and starts to run away from you, you can just clean your brush and dry it off and just sort of soak a little bit of that up with your brush if you want to, or you can just let it go. Let it do its thing. Now this paper is a little bit more highly textured than the arches, so as you know, we do get some of those little, you know, spots, like a little, I don't even know, it's sort of quilted looking almost, right? Which is not a bad thing, but that's just the way that it reacts with the paper. I'm gonna try to fix this bloom a little bit. It got a little out of control. So, all right, the bottom line is I dropped the purple in too quickly and it bled a lot. So it kind of ruined what I was trying to do, which was make a nice simple sky that was not overworked. So now I'm overworking it. So I may just scratch this one. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I do kind of like what's going on here though. This top part I'm not loving so much, but we'll see. And I think I'm going to leave the yellow because we're going to do some silhouette type thing, whether it's a tropical sunset, whether we do some wheat or barley or something I thought would be kind of cool, like what do you call it? Like a field in the Midwest, right? Like a green field. So that is what I'm ending up with here. Worked fast, maybe a little too fast. We'll see how it dries. It might be interesting. In the meantime, I'm going to put that off to the side, and I'm going to grab the Arches paper. We're going to do the exact same thing. And we're going to see the difference between the papers. So I clean that off. I need a little more purple set up here mixed with the rose. So I'm going to grab that first and set that up. All right, see how that just made it a little more of a plum color? That was the word I was looking for, plum. So that purple just got warmed up a little bit by the pink. All right, so same thing. Same clear water. This is on a block now, so I don't have to tape it down. It's already glued in there. I can already tell that this paper is soaking up the water fast. But what I mean by that is there's still a nice shine, but it's not puddling the way that it does on the other paper. So whatever the sizing is that they put in this paper soaks the water in quickly, but then holds onto it. So it should, hypothetically, stay wetter longer than the other paper. I just want to make sure this is, no, not quite, there we go, okay. So I've done the same thing, wet it, wet it, wet it. It's, the shine is going away a little quicker than it did on the other paper, which I expected. I'm gonna start again, fat brush with the pink, and we're gonna start at the top. And already I can see, I don't know if you can see on the camera, but already I can see that the paper is spreading this color much more evenly than the other paper that we use daily. And I expected that because this is more expensive, better paper. Not that what we're using is no good, but this is better. So I'm just going to keep following this down about 2/3 of the way like I did on the other paper. It's starting to dry already. I can actually feel it, but I'm adding more water to my paint just to compensate for the drying on the paper because the window's open. All right, so I'm about 2/3 down. Clean my brush. I'm gonna grab my gamboge and do the bottom. It's such a pretty color. I love this color. I'm adding a little more water to my brush with the paint because it's drying a little bit, so I want to keep it nice and wet. And then I'm going to start pulling that up into the pink again, where we should start getting that beautiful orange mix color up here. And again, you can go straight across, you can do it on an angle, you can paint some streaks up in here so that we have some orange streaks up in the pink. We can actually bring a little bit of the pink down into the yellow as well, which will then make that orange streaky mix there. So I'm not going to bring any of the purple down into the pink. I think I'm just going to leave it with the, not going to bring the purple down into the yellow. I'm going to leave it with the pink. But I am going to add a little bit of this purple mix up here, and let's see what happens. This paper should, even though it is very, very wet, it should take this color much better than the other paper because of the quality of the paper. So as you can see, it's blending with the other colors, which is really ultimately what we wanted. So there is, I lied. I'm putting a little bit of purple into this yellow at the top. But what's happening is it's just kind of sitting on top. It's not really getting too dark. And I need to mix a little more purple because it went really, really fast. And in fact, I need more rose because that just disappeared too. The other benefit to using this kind of paper is that your drying time is extended because of the way that the paper is sized. As I said, it holds onto the water longer and stays damp longer. So even though I'm over here mixing paint, which I should have probably mixed a little bit more previous, when I'm adding it on, it's still blending because the paper is still very, very wet. So that is another advantage to better paper, is more workability time. More blending time, more workability time. So even though I am working this paint into the other paint, I'm not getting blooms because the paper is wet, but it's not soaked. We could do a little bit of wispy stuff here maybe. Break up that linear look a little bit. Ooh, I didn't mean to do that, goodness. Well, now it's there, so I'm gonna have to work with it. So because this paper is what it is, there's just more workability time. So you're able to sort of push things around longer. I can kind of make these things swoop up into the color a little bit more. So again, there's nothing wrong with the paper that we use. However, especially when we're talking about workability and drying time, this paper is superior. It just is. So there we have a beautiful sunset sky that we can let dry and start adding things into after it's dry. I am going to just add a little bit more pink down here, just for pop. Because why not, right? And it's mixing with the yellow, so it's making that orangey color, which is kind of what I was after anyway. So there you have it. There is the sunset sky on the better paper. Here is the sunset sky on our paper, which I did a little too fast. So maybe what I'll try to do is do it again tomorrow for you guys and maybe be a little more patient before adding my purple in. It is still kind of interesting, but it's not exactly that, right? So there's a big difference between the two. Same colors, different paper. That's pretty much it for this video for now. I do plan on putting some sort of silhouette or some sort of something on here. But I may do that in class. I'm not sure if I'm going to end up doing that today or not, but we will do a wash in class as well, and then you can watch the video and kind of have that. But this paper, I just find there to be a huge difference for these types of applications. So that's it. All right, see you tomorrow. Bye. Okay, so I decided to give it just one more try with our regular paper. Maybe I'll stitch these together if it comes out better, and I'll be a little more patient before adding the purple and maybe not get so many blooms. We'll see what happens. So again, I am just wetting the paper with clear water. I am making sure that it is evenly wet. And again, I'm already seeing that this is still very shiny compared to the Better Arches paper, which wanted to suck that water in immediately. But this is what we got, and this is what we're working with. So we have lots of water. We're going to start again with our rose color at the top. I'm going to do a little bit more of an angle again, just to sort of make it maybe more interesting. And again, I'm seeing the buckling on the paper around the corners because it's so wet, which we expect, but it's different from where how the block behaves. So just making note of that. So I'm doing about 2/3 of the way down with the pink. I'm grabbing some of my gamboge. I'm going to start at the bottom, same angle. Working my way up towards the pink and then into the pink. In like a little bit of a swoopy motion. So hopefully when this dries, it'll look like clouds that are wisping off. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the pink, where I'm going to grab a little bit more pink and just swoop that down into the yellow a little bit. So we have some swoopy, cloudy looking stuff. So already this is looking better than the first one. I am going to add a little bit more yellow up here. So I'm a little hesitant to do the purple, but I'm going to just let it dry for a minute and then try it again. And if it doesn't work, then I guess it wasn't meant to be, right? So it's a purple mix. It's purple mixed with a little bit of rose. I'm just going to drop a little. This is not very wet either, so maybe that's also the key. I don't have a lot of paint on here is what I mean. And we can just push that around a little bit. Since the paper is still pretty wet, it's still workable, but it's not soaked. It's starting to dry up here. I can see that already. But still workable. So just breaking up the sky a tiny bit with that. I don't know how much I want to do. I don't know how much I want to go crazy. And I ran out of purple on top of that. So let me see if I can mix a little bit super quick. Get some of the water out of there. All right, so I'm just going to add a tiny bit to the bottom here. So waiting another minute or two definitely helped. I'm seeing a lot more control and a lot less bloom effect going on. It's still pretty wet down here though, so this might bloom a little bit. This is drier for whatever reason, don't know why. But overall, I'm much happier with this one than I am with the first one. I'm not loving this yellow at the bottom. I think it's too much yellow. I'm adding a little bit more of the pink to the bottom. Break that up a little bit. All right, so overall, I'm much happier with this. Being a little more patient definitely helped. This is still really wet. It is blooming a little bit. However, it's not terrible. These areas worked exactly what I was hoping. And the yellow and the pink are mixing nicely up here. So I'm actually really happy with that. So I am much happier with this one than I am with this one. So a little bit more patience was in order, and I'm glad I did it again. It's not 100% this one, but it is much, much closer. So there you have it. Have your colors mixed, work as quickly as you can, and then just make sure that your paper isn't soaked before you drop those other colors in. We will do it again in class tomorrow, but then this way you have the video to back it up. So that's it. Okay, bye-bye.